There is a young man standing in a car dealership at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning. The salesman is walking him through financing options. The monthly payment is more than a third of his take-home income. He knows this is not financially responsible. He knows the practical choice is to walk away, buy something used, something sensible. But when he looks at the car, the specific year, the specific model, the exact color he has wanted since he was 16, the numbers stop mattering. He signs the paperwork. This decision, made by millions of people across every income level, reveals something essential about human psychology, the gap between logic and desire, and the ways people use objects to construct a version of themselves that feels more real than their current reality. The behavior is not new, but it has intensified. Automotive debt in developed countries has reached record levels. The average car payment has climbed year over year, even as wages have stagnated. People are financing vehicles for 6, 7, even 8 years, pushing the boundaries of what lending institutions will allow. Financial advisors have a rule: never spend more than 10 to 15% of your income on a car payment. Yet studies show that a significant portion of car buyers exceed this threshold, sometimes dramatically. They are not ignorant of the risk. They are making a choice that prioritizes something other than financial optimization. The first psychological force at work is identity construction through consumption. Human beings do not experience themselves as fixed entities. The self is constantly under construction, shaped by decisions, possessions, and the narratives people tell about who they are. For many people, especially younger adults still forming their sense of identity, the car becomes one of the most visible markers of that self. It is not just transportation, it is a statement. When someone buys a car they cannot afford, they are not buying the vehicle. They are buying access to a version of themselves that the car represents: successful, confident, someone who has made it. Psychologists call this aspirational consumption. The purchase is not about present reality. It is about future identity. The person buying the car believes, often unconsciously, that owning the vehicle will close the gap between who they are and who they want to be. This is not entirely irrational. There is evidence that possessions can influence behavior. Someone who dresses well may carry themselves with more confidence. Someone who drives a prestigious car may be treated differently by others, which in turn affects how they see themselves. The car becomes a tool for becoming the person they aspire to be, even if the financial cost is unsustainable. But there is a darker mechanism underneath this. The decision to buy a car beyond one's means is often driven by a feeling of inadequacy. The person feels that their current self is not enough, not successful enough, not impressive enough, not worthy of respect. The car becomes a compensatory object, something that makes up for perceived deficiencies in other areas of life. A young professional stuck in an entry-level job with no clear path forward may buy an expensive car as proof that they are not failing, that they are moving upward even when evidence suggests otherwise. The car is not a reward for success. It is a preemptive claim to success that has not yet been earned. This ties into a broader psychological concept: the distinction between intrinsic and extrinsic validation. Intrinsic validation comes from internal sources: personal growth, skill development, meaningful relationships. Extrinsic validation comes from external markers, status symbols, social recognition, visible achievements. People who buy cars they cannot afford are often relying heavily on extrinsic validation. They need others to see the car and make assumptions about their success, because internally they do not feel successful. The car becomes a facade, a piece of social armor that protects them from judgment or from their own self-doubt. Social comparison plays a significant role. Human beings are constantly measuring themselves against others, often unconsciously. When someone sees a peer, a coworker, or even a stranger driving a car that signals higher status, it triggers a sense of falling behind. This is especially pronounced in cultures with high visibility of wealth and consumption. Social media has intensified this effect. People see curated versions of others' lives, the new car, the vacation, the upgrade, and feel pressure to keep pace. The car becomes a tool for signaling that they are not being left behind, even if the financial reality tells a different story. There's also a temporal dimension to this behavior. The decision to buy an expensive car is in part a decision about how to value the present versus the future. Financial responsibility is about delaying gratification, saving now to have security later. But for people who feel that the future is uncertain or that they have already sacrificed enough, the appeal of immediate satisfaction becomes overwhelming. The reasoning, often unspoken, is this: I do not know what will happen in 5 years. I do not know if I will ever feel financially secure, but I can have this now, and it will make me feel good now. The car becomes a form of present-focused coping, a way of claiming enjoyment in a life that otherwise feels constrained. This is compounded by the structure of modern financing. Car loans are designed to make the unaffordable feel accessible. The focus is always on the monthly payment, never the total cost. A $50,000 car does not feel like $50,000 when it is broken into $700 monthly installments over 6 years. The human brain struggles with long-term cost assessment. It responds to immediate, tangible numbers. The dealership knows this. The financing is structured to exploit the psychological gap between sticker price and monthly payment. The buyer focuses on whether they can technically make the payment, not on whether the payment is a sound financial decision in the context of their overall budget. There's also the sunk cost fallacy at play, though it operates in reverse during the purchase. Once someone has spent hours at the dealership, test-driven the car, imagined themselves owning it, the psychological cost of walking away feels enormous. They have invested time, emotional energy, and mental commitment. To leave without the car feels like admitting failure or wasting effort. The salesperson understands this and uses it. The longer the process takes, the harder it becomes to say no. The person ends up buying the car not because the numbers make sense, but because walking away after all that investment feels worse than signing a bad deal. For some buyers, the car is not about status or identity at all. It is about control. Life often feels uncontrollable: job insecurity, relationship instability, economic uncertainty. But buying a car, even an unaffordable one, is a decision the person gets to make entirely on their own. It is a domain of pure autonomy. No one can tell them no. The financing company approved them. The car is theirs. In a life where so much feels dictated by external forces, the car becomes a small kingdom of personal sovereignty. The financial consequences are future problems. The sense of control is immediate. There is a gendered dimension to this as well, though it manifests differently across cultures. In some contexts, men are socialized to demonstrate success and capability through visible markers like cars. A man who cannot afford an expensive car but buys one anyway may be responding to internalized pressure to perform masculinity in a way that is legible to others. For women, the psychology can be different but equally powerful. Buying a car as an assertion of independence, a rejection of being told what is practical, or a claim to a lifestyle that feels out of reach in other ways. The aftermath of buying an unaffordable car reveals the psychological complexity even further. For some, the initial pride and excitement fade quickly, replaced by financial stress and regret. The monthly payments become a source of anxiety. The car, instead of being a symbol of success, becomes a reminder of poor judgment, but the person is now locked in. Selling the car often means taking a loss, and admitting the mistake feels humiliating. So they continue making payments, resenting the decision but unable to undo it. For others, the car continues to provide psychological value even as it drains their finances. They genuinely feel better driving it. The stress of the payment is real, but so is the boost in self-esteem, the social validation, the sense of having something they deeply wanted. The trade-off for them is worth it. This is not irrational in the pure sense. It is a decision that values psychological well-being and identity over financial optimization. Different people weight these factors differently, and for some, the car's emotional return justifies the economic cost. The broader economic system enables and profits from this psychology. Car manufacturers design vehicles to be aspirational, not practical. Advertising does not sell transportation. It sells freedom, success, adventure, identity. The financing industry structures loans to maximize approvals, knowing that many buyers will struggle but few will default outright. The incentive structure rewards getting people into cars they can barely afford, because those people generate the most profit through interest over time. The individual's psychological vulnerabilities are not random. They are understood, studied, and leveraged. What makes this behavior particularly poignant is that it is often driven by hope. The person buying the car they cannot afford is not trying to ruin their financial future. They are trying to claim a piece of the life they believe they deserve. They are trying to feel successful before success has actually arrived, and in doing so, they often delay or derail the actual path to stability. The car becomes both the symbol of the dream and the obstacle to achieving it. The psychology of buying an unaffordable car is a collision of identity, aspiration, social pressure, financial literacy, and emotional need. It is easy to judge from the outside, to call it irresponsible or foolish, but the behavior makes sense within the internal logic of the person making the decision. They are not buying a car. They are buying a feeling, a status, a version of themselves, or a moment of control in a life that otherwise feels uncertain. The financial consequences are real and often severe, but the psychological drivers are powerful and deeply human. Understanding this does not excuse the decision, but it explains it, and perhaps offers a path toward making different choices in the future.